Welcome to Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports, where husky middle-aged men share insight on the latest Baltimore sports news. From the bank to the yard and beyond, we're breaking down the Ravens, Orioles, Terps, and more. Baltimore's best sports podcast starts right now.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's me, John, and I am flying solo unless one of my friends ends up coming on here. So, good day in Birdland. We've got two wins, and we swept the Rays last week, and so things are looking a little bit better, and the weather is changing, and we're getting ready for. We just got done with OTAs for the Ravens. I'm here in Florida where it is hot and humid, and sometimes when I get out of a model house, I'll walk outside and my sunglasses will all fog up, and it will just feel like I just got out of the shower. So there's not a big difference between the two things. So anyway, I got some stuff going on tonight, and I'm gonna talk a little O's, a little Ravens, see if anybody's got any opinions on something. I have an addiction that I have to admit, and I love it when Fanatics has sales, and I'm gonna go into a little out in left field segment, and I want to get some people's opinions on some of the things that I've purchased on Fanatics over the time. Most of the stuff I buy is Ravens and Orioles and Terps and stuff, but you know, I wanna confess a few things. So, nothing too exciting going on in my life. I'm gonna go on a cruise here in a couple days, just for 4 days, from a Thursday through a Sunday, and I'll be back at work on Monday morning. And anyway, still just selling houses and trying to catch the O's games. What's kind of nice is most of our sales are done online. So like today, I could make phone calls and I can do all kinds of stuff while I'm still working. So I had the O's game playing in the background, and then I was doing all my work things. I don't think my boss is watching this, so I'm not too worried about that. But watching the O's game while I was making my phone calls and sending my emails and calling realtors and calling potential buyers and doing all those fun things that go with new home sales. But O's look good today. Got 7 strong innings out of Kyle Bradish. You know, the bullpen looks like it's up and down. It's a very difficult thing because you looked at, the beginning of the season, and the bullpen was going strong. We had a guy like Nunez who seemed like he was going to be the real deal. He was closing things out. He was getting almost 80, I believe it was almost 80% whiff rate on the sweeper. He was closing guys down, and now he's kind of running into that rookie slump, I would call it, where he's just getting hit. And then the other night, I don't know, and Connor talked about this on Locked On Orioles the other day, of what they're doing with Aiken. The guy is getting rocked, yet Alvarez, still keeps putting him out there. And I don't know what it is. I mean, he's a lefty. Okay, I get it. But it just seems he's just not what he was last year. He's not what he was the year before. And he's giving leads up. So I don't know if they just keep him in there because he's a lefty. And then, there's all those weird rules about when somebody gets hurt, then you got to take them off the IL and then send somebody down. And then if you're replacing a guy, it's X number of days. And if you're not replacing a guy, then you have to stay down there. Like they were talking about that with Suarez, that they can't just, because he's a veteran, they can't just outright him to Norfolk. And if they do this, that, or the other, then he's got to stay down there for 15 days. But if he clears waivers, he doesn't have to do that. So, I don't know if they're hanging on to Aiken for some reason that we just aren't aware of. But the guy just can't finish. He can't finish at bats. He's getting rocked. And the other night we were up 5-0, and then it gets to the bullpen, and they blow the game, and we end up losing. We could have taken 3 of 4 from the Blue Jays. Instead, Friday night, and it's a Star Wars themed fireworks night. But when I'm looking at this box score from Friday night, we got 5 runs on 8 hits. Holiday hit a homer. Pete and Basayo both went deep. But, we get in here, and Aiken was a little bit better on Friday night. He had 0.2 of an inning, and it was an issue with Cano on Friday night. But on the other nights, and Connor was talking about this, Aiken just has problems. But again, no, here, Trevor Rogers gave us a pretty decent outing. 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned runs, 1 base on ball, 3 strikeouts, and gave up the 2 homers, both in the 7th. But he was cruising until he got to that 7th inning, and then he couldn't find it. And then then we had to bring Wells, and then Cano blew the lead there, and then you bring Aiken in, and then Garcia finishes the game off. But I'll tell you what, we've been getting the starting pitching. Like that was the concern. But our starters are giving us good outings. We took 2 of 2 from the Tigers. Or 2 of 3 from the Tigers, excuse me. I forgot there was a doubleheader. But 4 runs, 3 runs, 4 runs. If your pitching staff gives up less than 5 runs, you have a very good opportunity to win. But then you go here, you got the Rays 9-7, 6-1, 11-2. We lose to the Blue Jays 2-1. You can't really blame pitching for that. Then we lose on Friday night. We blame the pitching for that. But then last night we came back. We were down. We were down 5-1 going into the bottom of the 9th inning, and you know what? Polar Bear comes through. He capped off the 5-run 9th inning with a walk-off hit. And I think the biggest thing for this team is just that we are so inconsistent, mainly on the offensive side of the baseball. We're looking at this, and our starting pitching, which, we went into the season looking at it like, there might be a problem here. Or we may have 2, Jason and Micah both said it. We could have 2 Cy Young caliber starters at the top of our rotation, which, Rogers has dealt with a couple injuries and and the flu and a couple other things, but now I'm seeing Bradish. Bradish did something that's very, very difficult as a major league pitcher. He faced the same team 2 times in a row. So he went out, and I was at the game. I was at the game that he lost the other night in Tampa. But he went out there and he faced the Rays again, and he did very, very well. So I've been very impressed. Looks like we're getting the Bradish back, who finished was it top 5 in the Cy Young voting in 23 before we had to take the 2 years off for the injuries to Tommy John and whatever else. But it looks like we're getting him back. And if Rogers can find 3/4 of what he did last year, we're looking pretty good at the top of this starting rotation. Now we just need the bats to catch up and to become consistent. And then we had a few plays today, like today, Jackson Holliday and Gunnar kind of weren't on the same page, and that allowed the runs to score on Bradish, where Gunnar went behind the bag to field the ball, and I think Jackson was thinking that he was going to take it himself and then throw it over to first base. He flips it to Holliday. Holliday catches it, gets the sure out, and then airmails the ball wide of Pete over there at first base. So it gets the error, and then the run scores. But we didn't have a collapse. Bradish got out of the inning, and then we have an off day tomorrow. So I don't think Alvarez was too concerned if he had to use a few more bullpen arms today. But we got it complete. We did everything today. Fairly well-rounded game. And we did a lot of the things that we're going to need to continue to do to be a successful baseball team. I mean, I'm looking here. Bradish had no earned runs. Wells came in and gave up one inning, 4 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned runs, a base on ball, and a home run. But Bradish, though, 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run, no earned runs, 3 base on balls, and 4 strikeouts. And I think if we can keep them, if Bradish keeps pitching like this, we can get Rogers back a little bit and get him going. But like I said, we've been losing ball games. The other night, like on Friday night, we should have won this baseball game. I mean, Cano doesn't give up that home runs and things. We're taking 3 of 4 from Toronto. So I just Trevor Rogers, 6 innings, 4 runs, 4 earned runs, 3 strikeout. And again, we're giving up it seems like we're giving up quite a few home runs, but I think that we're beginning to see some of the glimpses of the team and the potential that we have. I want Jason to continue to talk crap about players, because the moment he talks crap about players, he was talking last week how Cowser was really disappointing him and how he's probably not really a big leaguer and blah, blah, blah. And then Cowser's hit 3 home runs in the last week, hit 2 walk-offs against the Tigers. Hall of Fame closer took a splitter. It was a splitter right down the middle and just launched it into right center field. And then, Sunday did the same thing. So, I think Cowser's beginning to find himself. I still think that one of the biggest weaknesses on this baseball team is that outfield defense. We don't have a solid center fielder. I see them make make some plays out here and have to think to myself, what kind of preparation or what are they? I mean, they're professional baseball players. I mean, and playing the outfield is not just like a little league where you're just chasing the ball around and stuff. But there's a few plays where I question, their preparation, and I question some of the things that they're doing because Ward out there and left. I've seen a number of plays out there where it's kind of like, yeah, I know we brought you in for your bat, not your glove, but you're a professional baseball player. You should make that play. That's a standard play. Or there was one the other night, with in Tampa, where Cowser got a little twisted around. And it was an easy play? Absolutely not. It wasn't a can of corn. But it was a very makeable play, very catchable ball. And I'm seeing a lot of these Orioles outfielders having these problems. Making plays much more difficult than they should be, and not making the plays at all. And I've seen on a couple posts people asking to bring Cedric back, and why didn't we bring Cedric back? And what we don't need another $189 hitter in this lineup. We don't need an inconsistent player. He is an average, based on the statistics, he's an average center fielder. Does he make the plays? Absolutely. But he makes the routine plays. He makes, what he's supposed to make. And nothing incredibly fantastic, nothing incredibly awesome. But he does make some of the circus catches. He makes some of the hard plays. And, that's what you remember. And you saw it the other night. It was nice. They ran a video montage of Cedric up on the Jumbotron. He got a standing ovation, tipped his hat to the fans. He went through a lot in Baltimore. He went through the bad years and the good years. He went from switch hitting to only hitting from the left side. So there was a lot of things that he learned in Baltimore, and Baltimore appreciates him. But I don't think, to those people who think that Cedric is this amazing player who would change how some of the things on the team are, I just don't think that's reality. I think that, is he a steady center fielder? Absolutely. He gives you stability in the outfield, but that bat is what's having some problems there. I mean, he was like last year, he was hitting like a $189, and we don't need another one of those. The guy that I'm really looking at and really hoping is going to start improving and getting into the season is Jackson Holliday. You saw him; he hit another home run the other night. He has, what does he have on the season? 4, I think. And he's he's looking a lot more comfortable, at the plate. He's looking a lot more comfortable in the field as well. So let's see. Jackson Holliday. All right. He has 8 hits and 33 at-bats, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 5 walks, 10 strikeouts, 3 stolen bases, hitting .242, .333 on base percentage, .424 slugging, and OPS of 757. So, I think that as he continues to develop and continues to mature, he didn't get a spring training at all. He was playing minor league games. So I really think that he's just going to continue to get better. He's going to continue to improve. And, between him and Cowser and Basayo, I mean, Basayo is what, 21 years old. He's hitting 283 with 9 home runs, 25 RBIs, 16 walks, and 45 strikeouts. And I see this in a lot of, I don't remember where Samuel Basayo was from. But let's see. I think he's Dominican, right? Yeah, he's Dominican. You see him. He's very much like a lot of these Dominican players. You see the guys like Vlad Guerrero Sr. and things who basically anything within the zip code of the ballpark, they're able to hit. And I see Basayo, taking some really good hacks on pitches where I'm like, probably don't want to swing at that, but you're like, no. And then, then he hits it 425 feet, but Basayo is the way the Orioles lineup is constructed with the 2 catchers and, being able to have 2, you look at a lot of teams, right? They have their catchers and they have like their weaker hitting catcher plays every Sunday because you normally don't catch a day game after a night game. But with the Orioles, they have 2 catchers who it doesn't matter who's behind the plate. The other one's DHing or can play first base. And, they have that's a real positive thing for this Orioles lineup and this, this roster is to have two catchers on there and Adley and Basayo who, are both pretty good hitters. Adley is getting back towards, all-star form, as I always say. He's got a year or 2 to say if he's going to be a perennial all-star, if he's going to be a big-time guy, or if he's just going to be another Jason Varitek. Switch hitting catcher, good leadership, good behind the plate, puts the bat on the ball, switch hitter, does the little things. Or is he actually going to really step up and really going to be that big guy? But again, though, having 2 solid hitting catchers in the same lineup really helps the club out because you're not losing anything on the second game of a doubleheader or a day game after a night game or something of like that. But so let's preview the O's this week then. So they got tomorrow off. So let's see. We got to go to June already. Oh my goodness. All right. So they got tomorrow off. Then they got Boston till Thursday, or through Thursday, through Thursday. Then they got the Blue Jays Friday through Sunday at Toronto and at Boston. And then we get 4 at home against the Mariners and the Padres. So, I look at this schedule and it's going to be up. I really think this is going to be a lot of up to the bullpen and the starting pitching is, can we continue this and then get that offense some momentum, get them rolling, get some, what's the word I'm looking for? Get some confidence behind them. Get confidence behind the offense. Get them rolling. Get them moving. Because, if we're giving up less than 3 runs a game, we should be winning ball games. But last night's game where they come back from 5 down in the ninth, or the 4 down in the ninth, that builds a lot of confidence in the team and in the bats. And, I don't know what I always wonder is, what does a guy like Pete Alonso, what does he do for the clubhouse? What does he do for the younger players? I mean, I've heard that some of these more experienced guys, the veterans really help. And Jason, Mike, and I were talking in a private chat about, do the Orioles need to bring in a corner outfielder, bring in a guy like a Mike Trout, or a Byron Buxton from the Minnesota Twins? Should we bring in a guy like that? And it's not a bad idea with somebody in there with experience, but we really need a center fielder. We need defensive people out in the outfield, and I think that can really help us. And I don't know, it's Mike Trout who's what, 33, 34 years old now. It's not Mike Trout who's 25, who's making all the catches and things. So he's going to be in Camden Yards playing a corner outfield, if anything. And a Byron Buxton, I don't know. Let's see. How old is Byron Buxton? Let's see. How old is he? He's 32. So, yeah. He's 32. And how old is Mike Trout? I feel like he's been playing forever. Mike Trout's 34. So, yeah, I mean, you bring in one of those two guys, and you get some veteran presence. You get a little bit of pop in the lineup and things. But is it that big of an improvement over what we already have? Because I'm going to say, and I said this at the start of this, we need outfield defense. We need a solid center fielder. And I don't see one on the market. I don't see one in our clubhouse, and I don't see one in our system. So, what are we going to continue to tread water with the outfield we have, or are we going to go out and try to find somebody who can shore up that? And I don't know if Mike Trout, or even Byron Buxton, who is a very good defender, but they're older now. They've lost a step, I mean, for heaven's sakes, I'm 34, and I was playing softball 2 weeks ago, and I tore my hamstring. I was just running out a double, and I get 3/4 of the way down to first base, and I just feel that pop in the back of my hamstring. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, no more monkey jumping on the bed. But no, she said, oh, it's just a strain. So I did all the therapy and rehab, and 2 weeks later, I go back to see a different doctor, and she's like, we need to do an ultrasound. And all I'm seeing are, oh my goodness, all the dollar signs to pay for all these x-rays and ultrasounds and everything else. But did the ultrasound, and it had torn right through, and it was healing properly, because it doesn't hurt anymore. It's just tight. It's just really tight. And she said that, yeah, it's torn all the way through, not disconnected from the bone or anything. So it's called a grade 2 strain, a grade 2 tear. A grade 3 would be where it actually tore from the bone, and they would have to go in and surgically reattach it. Thankfully, that's not the case, but I did do that in a slow pitch softball game, which I had never played in one before. It was a one pitch. You only got one pitch. You go up there with essentially a 3-2 count, and you got to hit the pitch that is thrown. So I don't know. I liked it. It was a quick. I mean, I got four at bats and stuff. But games go fast, and you get a lot of plate appearances, and you're not waiting to see if they're going to hit the ball. You're ready every play on defense. So, but as I was mentioning before, though, I have an addiction to Fanatics. I see they get these amazing sales. These amazing sales where it's like, you get 60% off things. And, I go on there and I'm seeing these Orioles things that I've watched. And of course, they're always scrolling through my Facebook ads, and they're always, at the top of my email, and I'm getting 4 or 5 emails a day about the 60% off deals and whatever. So there's some cool stuff on there that I'm just like, you know what? I can't live without that. And I'll order it, and it'll come in a few days. A lot of it comes from either Jacksonville or Aberdeen, Maryland. So if it's coming from Jacksonville, it it doesn't take too long to get here. I'm probably a good 3.5, 4 hour drive from Jacksonville. But anyway, the one thing I got was this City Connect headband. And I just need to know, like, is it cool or not? Because my daughter and my wife both hate it. Like, I love it because I can wear it under a hat and the hat doesn't get sweaty. I can wear it to the gym, keeps the sweat out of my face and things like that. But they think that is ugly and just not a good thing. So if you're watching or you watch this on a later date or you're listening on one of our podcasting places, you can find us basically anywhere you get your podcast: Spotify, Amazon, iHeart. We're also on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and we'll live stream these on those places. Then it will come up a little bit later, but go check us out on one of the videos and look at my headband because I love it. I think it's really like it's cool. Like it's nice. It keeps the sweat out of my hat and out of my face and things, but they don't. So, but like I said, I go on Fanatics and I find all kinds of cool stuff and got a polo shirt a couple months ago that's the Maryland flag on the sleeves, and you get your jerseys and the other place to get jerseys is wait till my brother comes in from China and then he brings us some jerseys over here. But you get some really neat stuff, and every day to work I usually wear a Ravens or an Orioles polo shirt and stuff. All got on Fanatics when they go on sale, but my wife thinks I have a problem, but I don't think so. But Fanatics it's just they make it so easy to get your team stuff where, back in the day, you actually had to traverse your way all the way to Baltimore to go get your Orioles stuff or all the way, wherever your team was to go get it. Now you just go on. They even have an app. So, they make it very easy and convenient to get your team's gear and to load your closet up with Orioles and Ravens stuff and, spend a little too much money on it, but it's all good. But to go, so little Ravens, I not much, it's kind of a dead time, for football, really. OTAs are either over or beginning to get over. You got about 6 weeks or so until training camp starts. And then, that's when we can really talk and really see what's going on with the Ravens. Like Jason and I talked about last time, is there any, I don't know, is there any world where they bring in an outside center, they bring in another tight end, they bring in, something like that? I was listening to Locked On Ravens, and it didn't sound like they were really interested in pulling a tight end or a center. They're pretty happy with what they have. So, just it's going to be very interesting. I'm very confident that Jesse Minter can get this team over the hump and get them to, where they need to go. Because remember, like the last time, the Ravens hired a first-time head coach. He had a rookie quarterback, and they went to the AFC Championship game and lost to the Steelers. So Minter's getting in here with a veteran quarterback, a veteran running back, a veteran tight end, veteran leaders on defense, probably one of, if not the best Swiss Army knife in the NFL, and Kyle Hamilton, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. So, I think they can, can he get us over the hump? I mean, that's going to be the big question, but I think he's got all the tools in his toolbox to do that. And like I said, but just a minute ago, it's hard right now because they haven't had pads, they haven't played any games. You haven't seen what injuries are going to pop up here and there and everywhere, and that's always going to happen. But I don't know if anybody saw this, but Harbs over in New York, 3 players with torn Achilles already. So I don't know what's going on there, but I just read that the other day and I was like, "Oh my goodness." We had that string here where every running back we got tore an ACL, and now Harbs is now out there all his players are tearing their Achilles, and I just don't know what all these injuries, what it is in the injury department. But that's always the football thing is, you know, which team can keep their majority of their roster, healthy for the whole season. And then, that's the real big thing in the game of football, right? Is just who's healthy, whose stars stay healthy, whose key pieces stay healthy, and can they all put it together at the right time? So I don't think the Ravens are going to do much else. They may bring in somebody like a Jadeveon Clowney or some sort of defensive end or a pass rusher, a veteran, something. And then you always got to remember too is they got to fill some bodies for training camp. So there may be somewhere they're like, we're bringing in that, so and so, but basically more or less it's a training camp body. It's nothing else. Doesn't have a real chance of making the roster, but training camp guy. But another thing that I'm going to be interested in seeing is can the special teams, overcome their faux pas at the end of the game against the Steelers. If Tyler Loop can, what kind of kicker he's going to be, or if we're going to be, like one of those teams that's on the kicker bandwagon, on the not bandwagon, the kicker, hamster wheel, where it's just one after the other after the other. You just see it on so many teams. They just run through kickers. And, we've been blessed for, basically, besides a few years with Billy Cundiff and a couple others, we had Matt Stover the whole time we came from Cleveland. And then, we got Tucker, and we were blessed with Sam Cook and, guys like that too, that just stayed solid, and a lot of teams don't have that. But anyway, that's really all I have for you tonight. Like I said, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, on Apple and Spotify and iHeart. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, and you can email us, ideas at dadbods, crabcakes, and sports at gmail.com. And we would love to hear from you. You have anything? We're going to try to get all 3 of us back together again at some point. Just Jason's on vacation this week, and Mike's finishing up his school year. Very weird. Florida's been out of school for a week at a lot of places. My kids have been out for over a week, and in Maryland, they still got school for another 2 weeks. So anyway, but I appreciate everybody here. I appreciate you listening and spending some time with me. And give us your follow, share, give us your feedback, and let me know about this headband. I think it's really cool, but my fashionista daughter and my wife don't think so. But I'm gonna take a poll. I should put a poll up and see what everybody thinks about my headband, and maybe we should figure it out from there. So I'm John Landskraner for Mike Frisky and Jason Weisbecker and our whole team of, well, it's just the 3 of us. So Jason's like, HR, what are we going to call? Well, you got no HR, it's just the 3 of us. So for all of us, we appreciate you all, and everybody have a good morning if you're listening in the morning, and evening if you're listening to it at night. And remember, help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed and neutered.
Don't forget to subscribe to Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports on Red Circle, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your free podcasts. And while you're at it, leave us a review. It really helps us out. We're trying to spread the good word about Baltimore sports far and wide. Follow us on social media for more behind-the-scenes actions, memes, and bad sports takes. You can find us at Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports on Instagram, and Dad Bods, Crab Cakes, and Sports on our Facebook page. Until next time, keep rocking those dad bods, eating those crab cakes, and never miss the game.